Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lots of accusations, no pipelines, finger-pointing, while other important legislation falls by the wayside. This government is always happy to point out how long it's been since legislation was updated. As a service to the government, I'd like to point out that the Minister of Agriculture hasn't updated the Animal Protection Act while he's been in office. The Act hasn't been updated since 2006. To the Minister of Agriculture, why haven't you updated the Animal Protection Act, and do you have any plans to do so before the next election?
Good question. Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and for the member for the important question. You know, this government is committed to the protection of animals. I think all Albertans are committed to that. We had some recent incident recently on wildlife that was tortured to death. We don't want to see any of that, Mr. Speaker. We value our animals, our companion animals, our livestock animals right across the province, and why we continue doing so, making sure that our peace officers and others have the tools they need to be able to do just that, and that's protect our animals, Mr. Speaker.
Supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, lack of consultation with veterinarians, and we still rank at the bottom of the list in Canada when it comes to animal protection. There's room for improvement in the regulation and substantive changes in animal protection groups that are asking for and require the Animal Protection Act to be open and amended. That's what other jurisdictions have been doing, and the lack of action has landed Alberta, like I said, at the bottom of Animal Protection Act in Canada. To the same minister, how do you explain your government's failure to address this important issue during your time in office?
Great question. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the government will continue to work with industry and stakeholders to do what we can to be able to protect our animals right across the province, our government is committed to making sure that we meet the goals of the Animal Protection Act. Mr. Speaker, the frontline officers, the peace officers out there, making sure they as well have the tools they need to be to protect animals. What will not help, Mr. Speaker, if there's going to be large cuts right across the public service, Mr. Speaker, would not help.
Hear, hear. Second supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, opening the Act costs no money at all. With all due respect, Minister, we've been working with your office for over a year to get some of these very reasonable changes made. Animal protection organizations and stakeholders have been doing a lot of work and research to bring this minister up to speed surrounding animal protection. And in light of another disturbing video showing animal abuse, we need to take this very seriously. To the same minister, will you commit and act now on these important changes, or will Albertans and our loved animals have to wait?
Great question. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to protecting animals, whether they're companion animals, livestock animals, or wild animals. And I think that's important. The video that the member is speaking of was heart-wrenching. I personally couldn't watch it all myself. It was that bad. So we're absolutely committed to be able to do what we can to protect animals, and working with our industry stakeholders to see what can be improved. I agree with the member. We could always do better, and looking forward to working with industry to do just that.
Hear, hear. Members, as we move to question 4, I want to emphasize the preamble question that was discussed a number of times before, and that there are statements that allow ministers to make statements, but we are in oral question period. So the Honourable for Red Deer North.